The story of the Vanduul is as old as the notion of Star Citizen itself. Having first appeared in the original pitch video, they're as iconic to the world of Star Citizen as the Bengal Carrier and the Anvil Hornet. The Vanduul are the spiritual successors to the Kilrathi from the Wing Commander series, and in Star Citizen have assumed the role of the quintessential enemy and main antagonist of the UEE. Humanity's first encounter with the Vanduul occurred on the 9th of August in 2681, when a group of Vanduul raiders attacked the Tel Down ship on Armitage in the Orion system, killing over 638 people. At least one prisoner was also known to have been taken, most likely to become the subject of experimentation and torture. The UEE quickly discovered that they were dealing with an entirely new species, one which was warlike and ferocious in nature. Yet Ileana Messer never considered the Vanduul as a threat, and allowed them to continue to raid the systems of Orion, Virgil, and Tiber unchecked for the next 31 years. In 2712, a Vanduul clan showed just how ferocious it could be by openly engaging the UEE Navy in the Orion system. They devastated the human fleet, forcing them to flee to the surrounding systems of Tiber and Caliban. The Orion system was officially abandoned, and in the following year another clan was spotted entering the area led by a Vanduul kingship. They had laid waste to Orion 3 by blanketing its surface with an antimatter bombardment, and then unleashing an untold number of harvesters upon the rest of the planets in the system, stripping them of all resources and vegetation, leaving them all as pale reflections of the devastation that had befallen Orion 3. The Virgil system was the next to be abandoned by the UEE after a series of humiliating defeats. The retreat left millions of civilians behind, unprotected and alone to face their fate at the clawed hands of the Vanduul. Yet another tragic loss came in 2871 when a second wave of successful Vanduul assaults forced the UEE to evacuate the Caliban system, causing it also to fall and collapse into ruin. All UEE presence was eliminated from the area, and after the Vanduul were done with it, nothing was left behind for the UEE to return and fight for. After years of silence, the Vanduul fleet began to amass again in staggering numbers and started assaulting UEE settlements one after another with a systematic level of precision. The UEE Senate formally declared war on the Vanduul after the assault on Vega II in 2945. The first confrontation of this war was in the Oberon system in an offensive called Operation Mandrake. This offensive became famous for being the Navy's first major victory against a medium-sized Vanduul clan. Since then, the war continues, and the Militia Mobilization Initiative was established to enlist the general public to help defend the Empire from the Vanduul and other aggressors. This was done by allowing civilians to purchase near-military grade ships and offer their services to participate in UEE-sanctioned missions. These private militia were first instituted in remote places like the Stanton system, and their success rate has paved the way to continue this practice all over the Empire. The very structure of the Vanduul society makes it almost impossible to negotiate with the species as a whole. Although, at the end of the Messer era, attempts were made by the new Imperator to send diplomatic emissaries into Vanduul space to try and negotiate for peace. None have ever returned. The biggest leap in the Empire's understanding of Vanduul societal practices came from a captured carrier ship which was designated as the X-12. The Vanduul have a strict suicide order to scuttle their ships rather than risk being captured, so finding an intact ship, particularly one of this size, was quite a find. Some other races, such as the Banu, have helped to fill the gaps in our knowledge of the Vanduul, but they seem to know little more than we do about this elusive race. Some Vanduul clans have been known to trade with certain Banu planet states, and have also had some interactions with the Xi'an in the past, but no actual diplomatic relations have been established with either. Generally, the Vanduul consider the Xi'an to be cowardly and manipulative, while the Xi'an consider the Vanduul on a whole to be volatile and untrustworthy. Even amicable exchanges between the Vanduul and other races tend to be brief and often unpleasant. The Vanduul are a lot taller than your average human, standing at approximately 8 feet in height and have 3 long claw-like digits on each hand. there's an undeniable feline-like quality that can be seen in their physiognomy. This is especially apparent in their feet, which are digitigrade, which means that they walk on their toes much like you'd find on a common house cat. Their bodies have adapted to the harsh conditions that come from living in space for extended periods of time, and are equally as adapted to live in a wide range of habitats and environments that can be found planetside. Their skin has a bioluminescent quality to it, which is thought to aid in nonverbal communication. The Vanduul society appears to be a form of meritocracy, which is a form of leadership based on abilities rather than class privilege or wealth. Positions within society are earned by demonstrating their skill in combat, and are held as long as that skill continues to hold up. They have no centralized form of rulership, and instead have devolved into a series of clans which each hold their own distinct customs and beliefs. One commonly held practice that has been revealed about the Vanduul is that when a child comes of age, they're banished from their family and are sent off with a single object in their possession, a knife. This object will then become a cherished item that they'll keep with them for the rest of their lives. One room found within the X-12 had the religious overtones of a human chapel, adorned with stained glass images of blades within it. The same motif is reflected in the iconography of images that are found printed on the walls of personal quarters. Their religious beliefs, if they can even be called that, seem to be centralized around personal achievement and not the worship of a higher entity, but once again, all information pertaining to this matter is severely limited. DNA tests on the bodies uncovered a large range of genetic diversity, implying that their social interaction stretches far beyond the confines of their individual clans. All of the bodies discovered on board the ship were distinctly male. The Vanduul have a distinct language that is very guttural in its tone, but also has an extra layer of intricacy which is expressed by the bioluminescence that runs through their entire body that is used to accentuate their speech and gestures. The Vanduul have 3 clawed digits on each hand that conquerors would use to carve their initials and symbols into the conquered. These symbols eventually began to take on ancillary meanings and became the basis of their written language. Eventually, these meanings and symbols evolved into the distinct written style that they use today, and would in turn influence their spoken language as well. Currently, there are 16 known systems that fall within the boundaries of Vanduul-occupied space. They are Caliban, Orion, Tiber, Vagabond, Vanguard, Vector, Vendetta, Veritas, Vermilion, Vesper, Viking, Virgil, Virgo, Volt, Voodoo, and Vulture. Which has sparked a joke amongst the UEE veterans that if it starts with a V, then your system is either already occupied by the Vanduul or soon will be. It has also given rise to the superstitious practice to stop designating new systems with any name that starts with a V, in fear that it'll anger the Vanduul fleet into attacking it. This is of course a myth, and has no basis on anything other than to scare naive rookies and feed the superstitious beliefs of salty crewmen. The Vanduul have a nomadic and expansionist lifestyle, choosing to exploit conquered lands to their fullest extent, completely draining it of resources and then moving on. They show no interest in terraforming or colonizing the planets that they conquer. It is unknown where the Vanduul homeworld is located or if it even exists, which may explain the reason behind their disjointed social structure and their constant need to raid other systems for resources. Information about this race increases with every encounter, so updates are sure to follow, as well as a more extensive look at their fleet of ships and the unique form of technology that they employ. Knowledge of one's enemy is a weapon unto itself. Study these reports, know them as you'd know yourself, and victory will be yours.